Welcome back to Big Country Politics on KTAB.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's Sunday Conversation here on Big Country Politics. This week our special guest is David Holt, President of Consumer Energy Alliance, the CEA, if you will. He represents families, farmers, and small businesses and energy producers across America. David, thanks so much for joining us this week.
Manny, appreciate it. Good to be here.
Yes, sir. Well, before we kind of get into the nuts and bolts of anything and everything regarding energy and certainly involving data centers and what have you, tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization.
Yeah, so Consumer Energy Alliance, we're almost a 20-year-old organization, really focused on what energy means to the whole economy and giving a voice from the rest of the economy back to policymakers at the local level, state level, and in Washington for sensible energy policy to make sure that we all have affordable energy, reliable energy, resilient energy, and clean energy. Let's meet our energy needs in the cleanest way possible, which the United States clearly is showing we can do. But really, how do we have affordable and reliable energy? That's the big issue for CEA and all our members.
Certainly. Well, how has energy policy shifted in the last few months, going from the Biden administration now under the Trump administration?
Dramatically. I think on day one, President Trump came in and said, we're going to leverage, his word, we're going to leverage U.S. energy to put the United States on a sound footing to make the inflation that we've all seen over the last 3 or 4 years. Let's try to reduce that. Let's get energy prices down. Let's understand that energy price has a profound impact on all of us. You just think about every single thing you see at the grocery store relies on sensible energy policy, including the packaging that all the things are delivered in the grocery store. So our clothing, our shampoo, our shoes, everything that we see, touch, and feel on a daily basis relies on sensible energy policy, oil, natural gas, wind and solar for power generation. So the more we can do to lower energy costs, get the economy going again, create jobs, that really begins, in our view, with a sound energy policy at the state level and in Washington. And too much of the energy policy we saw over the previous 4 years put layers upon layers of red tape, more and more regulation, made it harder to refine gasoline and diesel, made it harder to find energy, oil and natural gas in the ground and offshore around the United States. So all those things led to higher energy costs, and that was a problem. So the Trump administration sees energy as a cornerstone of the economic development of this country, and they put that first.
And you say that with a nonpartisan approach, because on your website, y'all talk about kind of looking to oversee things that impact anybody and everybody.
Absolutely right. Energy, if there's one thing we should all be able to come together and agree on, doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent, energy and energy prices and energy reliability impacts us all, whether you live in the inner city, whether you're a farmer, whether you're a high income person, whether you're a low income person. We really need to make sure we have sensible energy policy, because those of us that can least afford to pay more for energy, they're the ones that are hurt the most and first. Mm-hmm. So an energy policy that helps reduce prices provides an all-the-above approach, make sure that our lights stay on. That's what Consumer Energy Alliance supports.
Yeah, well, last year, energy prices surged nearly 30% since 2021. How has this contributed to the high inflation Americans have experienced under President Biden's administration? And what solutions do you see for stabilizing energy costs?
I think the big equalizer for energy is the regulatory environment. And what we saw in the previous 4 years is a lot of regulations were being thrust upon the American public, adding layers upon layers of kind of redundant regulation, if you will. So removing that red tape, allowing onshore and offshore energy development, looking at ways to get pipelines built, transmission lines built that allows that energy to come to the market in a safe, affordable way. I think that's what we're seeing in this administration, prioritizing that, putting that, if you will, that America first, American energy first kind of stamp on things. And it's a stark contrast from what we saw in the previous 4 years.
Oil and gas and coal still account for 83% of U.S. energy, despite a slight decline from 84% in 2014. How do you see this energy mix evolving, especially with the increasing demand from sectors like data centers and electric vehicles?
It's really going to be about the same. We've seen, as we've added wind and solar, as you mentioned, we've gone from 84% of our energy mix coming from oil and gas about 10 years ago to 83% of our energy mix today is oil and gas. So, that's going to continue. Energy demand is gonna go up, Manny. That's the key point here. The AI revolution that's occurring right now, and we're in an AI race with China right now. And this administration recognizes that, and I think part of their desire to leverage U.S. energy is to make sure that the United States wins this AI race. I'll give you an example. One Google search that we all do today uses, let's say it's 1 unit of power. A Google search using AI uses 10 units of power, 10 times as much energy for an AI Google search. And we're just a few years away from every Google search being an AI Google search. So we need to build those data centers. We need to win the AI race here in the United States. And in order to do that, we have to have a lot more energy, a lot more base load energy, which is primarily going to be natural gas. And very soon, it's going to be more nuclear. And we're seeing the state of Texas in the legislature right now taking a lead on being a big nuclear state. We've got to have serious conversations about advanced nuclear being part of our energy mix to make sure that this AI energy demand that's going to be added on to all the energy demand that we're already seeing, that we're able to meet energy needs and we don't have brownouts or blackouts.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break, but when we come back, more with David Holt, president of Consumer Energy Alliance, as we discuss data centers in Texas and their energy consumption. That and more when we come back.
Welcome back to Big Country Politics on KTAB.
Well, welcome back to this week's Sunday Conversation here on Big Country Politics. This week, our special guest is David Holt, president of Consumer Energy Alliance. We were talking about, the evolution of energy, certainly now as we enter a new presidential administration in the first segment. But let's now turn our attention to data centers as we really kind of embark on this new frontier here in Abilene in the Big Country. David, it is estimated that demand for data center capacity will rise at an average rate of 33% of a year to 2030. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of energy consumption, why are we expected to see such a generational level of growth from this sector?
We are about to enter into an energy revolution, really, that's powered in large part by the AI revolution. This could be the biggest change in the energy mix and in a whole new economic sector that we've seen in a generation, if not multiple generations. How we compute, how we get information, how we collect information, how information is used to make all our lives easier, to make innovation easier, technology, manufacturing. All this is going to be powered by AI, and AI is going to be powered by, in this administration and the state of Texas's point of view, by American or Texas energy. That's largely going to be oil or natural gas, with nuclear and wind and solar providing a big chunk of that as well. So, we need to have the infrastructure in place. We need to make sure our grid is resilient. We need to have the transmission lines in place. We need to have the pipelines in place to bring this energy to these new data centers. We just saw President Trump just a few weeks ago announce a $500 billion AI data center surge, largely here in the state of Texas. So we've got to meet that challenge. We've got to meet those needs without interfering with our home use, with our restaurant use, without raising prices or hurting Americans in other ways. So this has to be something that it's kind of a whole of government and industry response to make sure that energy is available and is there to meet the needs of this growing revolutionary aspect of our new economy.
David, the Lancium Artificial Intelligence Campus right here in Abilene is set to play a significant role in the region's future with AI technology growing exponentially. How do you see this campus influencing local and national energy demands, especially in terms of data center capacity?
No, it's profound. It's going to be new jobs, new technology, construction jobs on the front end, but the ripple effect for AI, not only here in the state of Texas, but around the country. And Texas, frankly, is competing with other states. We've got Tennessee and Virginia and other states on the East Coast. You have Montana and Wyoming, Indiana. A lot of states are looking to be kind of a leader in AI. They're looking at bringing in new energy resources to make sure they can power AI. They're looking at talking with the AI developers on the best ways to meet those new energy needs. So it's really about the state of Texas from a policy standpoint, staying ahead of it, making sure that these AI data centers want to come to Abilene, want to come to the state of Texas, that we become a major hub for AI to create all the jobs and all the ancillary jobs that come from it. So it's a competitive environment, and it's going to change the way we live and we go to work going forward.
The Abilene campus, with the Abilene campus featuring a 1.2 gigawatt interconnect approved by ERCOT and incorporating on-site natural gas generation for added reliability. This is according to the Lancium website. Is it truly possible to ensure grid stability without negatively impacting local communities? And can this model effectively balance sustainability?
That's a great question. And I think with planning, it can. And the key word that you just said in that sentence is on-site natural gas. So, what they're looking at there is having its own natural gas power plant ready and available to power the AI data center there. So that would not necessarily be connected to the grid, or it would be connected to the grid only in emergency high demand days, where they could lend some of that natural gas from that power plant back to the grid to make sure that all the customers in the state of Texas are allowed to have or provided sufficient electricity to meet their basic needs. So it's adding additional infrastructure, grid infrastructure, power to the overall grid throughout ERCOT, which is the grid manager for the state of Texas, but also ensuring that these data centers either are connected in a sufficient way to the grid or have their own little power plant that's ready and available to power that data center when it's needed.
Reliability long term, is this feasible?
Absolutely, and that reliability. So let me say this. Let me back up just a little bit. So reliability is already an issue, right? So we need to make sure. We went from, in 2020, we had about 120 quote reliability days throughout the United States, where a local official or a state went to the public and said, hey, we're going to have a really hot day. We're worried about our grid, conserve electricity right now. So that was 120 in 2020. Last year, we had 340 of these reliability days across the country. So we were already getting ourselves in a situation where we needed more power, more baseload power, more natural gas power added to the energy mix. So that's coming online here in the state of Texas and around the country to make sure that we have the baseload reliability covered. And we're also adding more reliability, more infrastructure, more power to meet the fast growing needs of the AI industry.
David, in about 15 to 20 seconds, I'm going to ask you this. Can Abilene be a model for data center energy as we move forward?
Absolutely. It's already showing its leadership. The area is on the forefront of, like I said, this is a revolution. This is a complete game changer for the local economy, for the state of Texas, and for the nation. It's going to create jobs. It's going to create economic opportunity. And, even our handheld devices, it's just going to fundamentally change the way we can do business and think about the world.
David, thank you so much for your time today.
Manny, appreciate it.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's Sunday Conversation. For David Holt, I am Manny Diaz. We'll see you next time. God bless.